Good morning. I want to talk about an interest of mine, swords. Maybe you're like me, maybe you also find them interesting. I think we've lost touch, though, with our sword culture. What do I mean by that? Well, up until about 100 years ago, swords played a terribly important role in human culture. You look at any large historical event, swords would have been present somewhere in the background of that story. If you read the Bible, swords are mentioned several times throughout the Bible, and even the apostles carried swords. I don't know. I just find them very interesting. I like trying to picture what sword would have been used in in a particular narrative. Try to place it into the time period. It's just kind of something I like to do. This particular one is actually a fencing foil. This one is from my collection. It's early 1800s, pre 1830, maybe even late 1700s. This was something you would use in a fencing, learning about swordplay. I actually took a year of fencing. I really enjoyed it. There's not a school here locally, or I would definitely be a part of it. But swords, and it got me thinking about what was the first time a sword is mentioned in the Bible. Well, the very first time that I can find swords mentioned is in Genesis 3:24, and it's when God, drove Adam and Eve out of the garden for sinning, and He placed cherubim in the garden to protect it, and He also placed a flaming sword which turned every which way. Well, it kind of makes you wonder, God using a flaming sword long before man ever, developed the technology to, dig metal from the ground and form it into a weapon. And it makes me wonder about it. I've looked through several commentators. Some people think that it was a cherubim holding the sword. Other people think that the sword moved its own way without, anyone holding it. That it just, flew about. Some people think that it was a fire that just happened to be sword-shaped. Other people think that there was no fire at all, that it was say a metal sword that shined in the light, that was glittery, and then the way that it turned, here and there, it made it seem like it was on fire. There's a lot of different theories out there. I suppose it doesn't really matter, but I do think it's very interesting that either a physical sword or a fire in the shape of a sword, or however you want to picture it, it was definitely described as a sword. Why? Did God do it as a foreshadowing, knowing that swords were going to play such an important role in human culture? Or did the concept of a sword exist before our world? Were angels carrying swords? I don't know. It's an interesting thought to think about. And so I guess I'll leave you with that odd thought. You can ponder over today and come up with your own theory, I suppose. It ultimately doesn't matter. It's just kind of a fun thing to play with in your head. So have a great day, and I will see you later.